Hello everyone, welcome to Two Real Reviews, two reviewers with no agenda. My name is Smeet Bass and today is what I am tentatively calling Fright Night Friday, where I talk about a horror movie every Friday, both old and new. Today I am reviewing Oddity, released in 2024, directed by Damian Mc Carthy. I saw this movie 4 days ago but didn't have time to write a review for it until now. Horror is my favorite genre, I just want to get that out of the way now. I try and see everything that I can, but I will always value horror films over everything else. I already have about 30 new horror films written down that I plan to see this year, so if you like horror films, I hope you'll join me. I won't only be doing horror, but I plan on covering it at least twice a week on my channel. Anyway, this movie is going to be hard for me to review because it is not your typical summer horror film filled with laborious amounts of gore and jump scares. It's a very languid psychological horror film that isn't about the instant gratification. It wants you to follow everything that is happening. The story is about a woman that wants to get answers following the death of her sister. I am being that vague because you need to go into this movie knowing almost nothing. I even edited this trailer to show you as little of it as I possibly can. I don't want to tell you if this film is scary or not because that is one of the most subjective experiences. Everyone reacts to terror in different ways. So I'll just say that it will scare you if you really immerse yourself in it, and it does have jump scares in it, but it is not obsessed with them. I'll just leave it at that. The first thing I want to praise is the set design. This film is nice to look at, like really nice to look at, which is saying a lot since it mostly only takes place in two locations. McCarthy does a great job of mixing modern technology with a gothic setting, and I mean the medieval kind of goth. The main place in the film looks like a house that was built a long time ago. It has this very old feeling with things like the light to the bathroom being turned on from the outside of the room, and creaky wood flooring surrounded by gray brick walls. It looks very nice, like some good gothic structure going on here. The other main place in the movie is a psychiatric hospital, but it keeps itself restrained enough when we are visiting this place that it feels very claustrophobic and not hokey loony bin stereotypes. These scenes are shot up close and do not call attention to anything around except the characters you're paying attention to, which is a compliment. I also would like to thank this movie for not giving me jump scares every 8 minutes. This is a film that wants to take its time. It is in no rush to thrill you, but it will more and more as it is beginning to present itself, which I appreciate. Carolyn Bracken is the star here, playing twin sisters, one who is idealistic but very curious, and the other is reserved, short-haired, and even blind. One thing I love is that they don't victimize the blind sister in any way. She is not defined by her blindness at all. It is just an accepted fact that doesn't need to be dwelled on. I like that a lot. Gwillem Lee, I hope I pronounced that name correctly, plays the other lead in this film. He's a psychiatrist that is the owner of this countryside house. He thinks that everything can be answered with science. I think this character is incredibly underwritten. He just is playing a character that I've seen in tons of other movies that have doctors, very stoic, no emotion in his face, and seems only temporarily perplexed by happenings in the story. And how many times have we seen that in a horror film? This is a very languid movie, but I mean that in a good way. I love that the film doesn't feel the need to give expository dialogue every 10 minutes, and since the story primarily takes place over the course of one night, I don't need much insight into the characters. The problem becomes that this movie doesn't have much exposition at all. It does have flashbacks, but all it is doing is expositing the purpose of the story and not the motivation of the characters in a way that I deemed fully satisfactory. I see what McCarthy is going for here, and I think he mostly pulls it off, but the middle part of the movie doesn't build as much mystique as I'd like it to. There's a character named Yana that is fine as playing the straight person for the audience, but she has no mood except being, quite honestly, a Karen. The actress does look like Machen Amick from Twin Peaks, if anybody likes Twin Peaks, and I mean that as a compliment. But it just seems she was written to only have resting bitch face is probably the best description that I can give for most of the second act. But I seriously do want to go back to praising this film because I do like it. As I said earlier, Carolyn Bracken is the star of this piece, and I saw her in You Are Not My Mother from a few years ago. The fact that she plays a character that is blind but has more going on behind her eyes than any of the other characters in this movie does speak volumes to how good of a performance she gives. I like this actress. I think the only thing that I would criticize is that I felt this movie would be better if it was about 20 minutes longer. I would have loved some insight into the husband character and why he's reacting to things the way he does. Like, he needed more depth for me to like his arc. I think this is a good horror film that needs to be noticed by people. It isn't available in many places right now, but I want to recommend to please try and find it in a theater. It is a quiet film, so I think the theater experience would get that across, that sense of loneliness, even better. Obviously, I still recommend it if you want to wait for streaming, but I do recommend the theater. Shudder is involved in it, so I am presuming it will be on Shudder at some point. but I haven't researched it that much yet because as of the time of this video, I haven't figured out how they're distributing it yet. Either way, if you are in the mood for a spooky horror film that is a slow burn, please look into this movie. I think it's the best horror film of the summer and certainly better than Longlegs. I didn't see Caveat, the other film this director is known for, but I do intend to watch it now. If anyone would like my opinion on it, I would love to do a review on it. This movie was honestly such a surprise to me. I thought In a Violent Nature was ambitious but too flawed to overcome its weaknesses. It is also so much more quiet than Maxine, which I really liked, but this gives me a good horror movie feeling, whereas Maxine felt like more like a popcorn horror movie, and this movie is what I wanted Longlegs to be. I give Oddity a B or 3.5 stars out of 4. Thanks so much for watching. We also review 3 new movies per week, a silent film every Sunday, and much more is coming starting tomorrow. So if you like this, please like and subscribe, and until next time, I am Ghost.